Hello and welcome to Bass Guitar Review. My name is Ben Morgan Brown and you've just been watching Ryan demonstrate the Little Mark Vintage D2 from Markbass. The Vintage D2 is a 500 watt Class D amp with an ECC 83 tube preamp in the EQ section, which has 4 bands including 2 semi-parametric mid-range controls. With a simple on-off limiter and a flat or old EQ switch, the amp also has a boost, tuner out, send and return effects loop, and a DI out which can be set to post or pre-EQ. Weighing in at just 2.5 kilos, the Little Mark Vintage D2 retails for £765 plus VAT. Now let's hear Ryan put the D2 through its paces with a couple of basses, and then please join me afterwards for our thoughts. Despite being a thoroughly modern brand, we were all impressed by the vintage vibe that this little head gave off when we took it out in the studio. The large gain and volume knobs have something of the old Bakelite radio look to them, and combined with the glass windowed tube, it makes for a somewhat charming look. Another impressive feature is the weight, or lack of it. It's a wonder how Markbass have made a 500 watt amplifier so portable. Having previously reviewed the original Little Mark Vintage, the Bass Guitar Review team was hoping that the new features, including the semi-parametric EQ and simple limiter control, would improve upon that amplifier's impressive performance without taking away the versatility of modern and vintage tones, and the D2 did not disappoint. Combining the semi-parametric EQ and the flat or old switch makes for a bunch of very desirable tones. The flat setting is more modern and controlled, with plenty of mid-range but never getting woolly or gritty, especially with the limiter on, whereas the old setting hints at more of an SVT type tone, with heaps of low end plus string definition allowing the onboard tube to really come into play, especially with the limiter turned off. Both the EQ settings responded well to further sculpting with the EQ section, and Ryan found it was intuitive to switch between the two settings depending on the tone required, something he feels would allow players to tailor their sound to match their own requirements and any tone changes needed due to setlist or venue considerations. Despite having several tone options, one factor that surprised us was the plug-in and go ability of the amp. You could quite easily set a standard tone and then simply flip between the flat and old EQ to adjust throughout your set. It does make a large but musical difference, and it could be relied upon as your only adjustment. The little Mark Vintage D2 really does combine the old and the new into one lightweight head. Some of the team were sceptical if this amp could meet our expectations of a modern Class D amp and live up to the vintage tube vibe as well, but this versatile, toneful and lightweight amp hits home on all fronts. I hope you've enjoyed this video from Bass Guitar Review. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon to be kept up to date when we post new videos, and Ryan and I look forward to seeing you next time.